signing me off.
So, we'll leave that. I just saw where she had sent me something to some event, and I saw the name was on there. She had confirmed to go.
Oh,
Something she does out in Fenton.
well, that wine tasting. Okay, am I ready?
Can you hear me?
I'm ready?
Okay, go. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. In case everybody's wondering what I'm saying I'm ready for, is because we played my music and then it went right to my sign-off music. So I told John, I was like, boy, that was a quick show. So anyways, today my guest is Kathy Jackson, and Kathy owns Healthy Dollar Store at the corner of Beach and First. And so welcome, Kathy.
Thank you.
I went down to check it out because, when you're downtown, a lot of the college students always complain there's nothing down there for them, to eat healthy, besides going to the farmer's market.
Right.
So now tell me, how did you come up with the concept of a Healthy Dollar Store? Does that mean everything is $1?
Well, everything at the store. No, everything at the store is not $1. It's almost impossible to sell things for $1 nowadays. It's just almost impossible. But I was living in Southern California, and they had these stores called the 99-cent stores, and they're like dollar stores, but they're 99-cent stores, and they sell fresh fruits.
Wow.
And vegetables. It's and I really like that. And everybody goes. The 99-cent stores are everywhere. They're legendary.
Legendary.
And
they just made them $1 here.
Yeah, and they're they're in the richest zip codes. From Beverly Hills to the poorest zip code. But everybody goes into the 99-cent stores at one time or another. And I'm kind of big on healthy living. I mean, I'm not 100. I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan.
Right.
But in the neighborhoods, it's really hard to go into these stores since there are not many grocery stores in neighborhoods. I mean, probably in all the big cities, but to go and to be able to, and it's not my store is not a health food store. It's really like a dollar store concept. But I offer fresh fruits and vegetables, not to a huge degree, but I have them every day, and I also make fresh smoothies, and that's why I call it Healthy Dollar. Some people think it's a
$1
health food store. Well, it's $1, but some people think, a lot of people when they see the sign, they think it's a health food store.
Oh,
and some
okay.
people don't even come in. And they say, "Oh, we thought this was a."
They don't want you to give them healthy stuff. They just want to come in and get some junk food or something.
Well, a health food store like maybe something like the Granary or Dale. A lot of people are saying, well, they're not going in for that or have the budget for that.
Right,
so they think it's something where I'm selling vitamins and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's kind of expensive.
Right.
Vitamins are expensive.
Right.
But I think it's a good concept for, the reason is when I used to work for U of M, that was one of the things when they built the dorms, and then they got the shuttles to take the kids to Meyer or they can walk up to the farmer's market. We used to always get complaints in the library about there was nothing close by. And then when the pavilion closed at 7, they're pretty much hit.
Right.
So now what are your hours? Are you open after 7 at any time?
Generally, I'm open till 7, but sometimes if there are, big events downtown, and Joel Rash, who owns the building next door, on Fridays and Saturdays, they have concerts there for, where young people, evolving bands, and they come over there, and sometimes I stay open late for that. But for the most part, and in the winter I close a little early. Being downtown, you have to kind of follow the sun.
Right.
There are not many people, downtown, and you just, it's hard to be open real late because
I think the parking is a big issue with people being downtown, because I hate going downtown because you can't find anywhere to park. I mean, I drive in circles trying to find somewhere to park.
Well, people say that, but I think Flint is a city where people just aren't used to. I mean, if you live in major cities, you just know sometimes you got to park maybe 2 or 3 blocks away.
Right. I think we got spoiled.
And I think people in Flint are spoiled. But another thing, there's not that much to do.
Yeah.
Now, I think if you parked and then you walked, but there were other things to do. There were stores to look at and other things to do. People wouldn't mind it so much.
Right.
because everybody wants that experience. I mean, when you're in a downtown area, you want a variety.
Exactly. Now, when I moved here in '81, we had a big variety downtown.
Right.
And it was not a problem for people to be downtown. The parking didn't seem to be an issue. I mean, everybody was always downtown. It was nightclubs downtown and everything.
Right.
So, but now when everybody moved, and people come downtown, it's like, you know, when you have an event like they just did the one on the top of the roof, you know.
Right.
Well, you got the Rutherford, so you can park below and then you can go up. But overall, if it's not enough to do, people don't want to go down there. You know, like you say, what I'm going down there for?
Exactly. You know, when some people come, I mean, that's the biggest problem for the merchants downtown.
Yeah.
I think there's not enough variety. Now, people will come to my store a lot. Most of my traffic is walk-in traffic. I pretty much, when I was doing my business plan, thought it would be that way. People in the neighborhood, students, people who live downtown. But it's hard, and people on the buses. I mean, if they have time, you know, because they all see the store, because a lot of the buses are headed south on Beach Street.
Exactly,
and
come
then they
right
turn,
by
so
you.
they see my sign, and still a lot of people, if they're not rushing, they still might not even leave the bus station to walk over, even though it's just 2 blocks.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things is that people just don't feel like walking. Number 2, it's just not enough to see. You don't have that walking experience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You can walk downtown and don't see anything, then you just want to keep on through.
You want to keep on through. Now, there's this whole issue about the market coming downtown. And then I hear a lot of people saying, there was an article in the paper the other day that 2 merchants are saying they're not coming down because their customers say
it's not safe.
And I live downtown. I mean, I live downtown. Downtown is safe.
It's safe as anywhere else I see, but I think a lot of people, when they plan to put it over there, everybody enjoy it over there, and they just was like, you know, I'm not going. Because I read that too, and I could see them going like this, I'm not going.
I'm not going. But I can see them wanting to be over there too. I mean, a farmer, and I like farmers markets. And the one over there, you know, is kind of rickety and stuff. I mean, that's the way
that's
people
the history of it.
You know, people kind of like farmers markets. And then to come downtown, I spent a number of years in Detroit. Well, I was there most of my life.
They got the big market over there.
They got a big market. And then at the corner of, what's the main street? I can't think of it. But at Mac, they've got because they're going to move this one into that building over there. And it's a nice new building, but and they had planned to put, you know, things inside that brick building. But that never really took off. People still just kind of like that outdoorsy ness of the market. And then there's still a part where people go inside, you know, that other part. But I think people are concerned, you know, is it all just going to be inside? And, you know, people talk about parking, but there's a lot of parking around there.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I guess they were supposed to have some free parking, but then ultimately, if you run out of space, there's some paid parking. And I think that's what a lot of people heard the most was paid parking.
Okay.
And then the Flint Journal building, but over on the next street, they're supposed to do something with that, but then the one they're actually going into is the press building. And so it's like, that to me, that was a waste of money, because I watched them build that when I was working at the university. And it didn't seem to last long. So now it's like, oh, now another building, you spend all the money, go into it. You could put your store in there.
Well, maybe that's why they're bringing the market in there, because it's a new modern building. And then they say the merchants will have better check, because they're going to have some cooking facilities, better refrigeration. Like, for example, the turkey store over there. Now, the one over on Mill Road, and then the one on Hill Road. You know, the turkey store is always crowded. And, you know, they sell something that's really popular now. They got, like, turkey ribs and stuff like that. But they don't have the refrigeration or the capacity to do a lot of stuff. But over there in the new building, they say the merchants will have a much more capacity to store their food, to prepare food, but who knows? I don't know what is it going to cost them to go over there too.
I know. That's one of them things. So now, what did you think about the area? I mean, how did you choose the area that you are? Because it's, you know, sometimes it might be a little hinky for people to park right there. They don't, you know, that come off that corner. Because I know I come out there one day and I was like, dang, she's right there, and I'm around.
It's tough. Come back. It's tough. Well, now, I was a reporter my whole life. You see
I got your article right here.
And I covered the automotive industry, and I got a chance to live pretty much around the world and or work or visit, you know, cover stories. And I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to get a car dealership.
Mm-hmm.
But then the times got to the point where, single owners, it's almost impossible
Right.
to now to go into that business. And I was always enamored with the dollar store business. I mean, being a business reporter, I would always kind of look at businesses, and there are 4 publicly held dollar store companies, and they all have, they're all really profitable, have high margins, and so I had thought about that, and then I thought, well, and I really didn't have any intention really of coming back to Flint. It's my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
I had thought about maybe going down to Key West, which is where my mother's side of the family is from. I mean, since I had lived in a lot of
You just
kind of
traveled
hip
everywhere.
urban areas,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to go to a hip urban area, but then my mom was getting up in age. I wanted to come back and help her, and since the dealership thing was kind of gone, I had thought about opening a dollar store, and I really was enamored with the 99-cent store.
Exactly.
So I kind of wanted to model my store, although I wanted a little more aesthetically pleasing than the 99-cent stores. But I had thought about doing a story on Flint. Could it come back and be a college town? Because, Flint was huge auto.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I started doing some initial research on it, but I kind of got waylaid by some other stories I was working on. But while I was doing that, I found out that, I talked to people at U of M, at Kettering, and I found out some time ago that MSU, I knew they were seriously looking at coming downtown. So I said, maybe Flint can do this. So I said to my brother one day, I said, the ministers should get together. And that's when Flint was still, what first really turned me on was I saw that row building, and they were doing a real nice job with modernizing that. And I said, you know what? I said, the black ministers should really get together and start buying up some of these rickety buildings downtown, because they're going to be the first ones complaining that, the white man's not going to want black people downtown.
Right.
And so he was saying, I don't think they're going to get together and do it. And so then I had thought about maybe renting something, for the college students. I saw U of M's. I mean, it's amazing how many people, when I look, really go to they're not all downtown, and then who go to U of M, and a lot of them are commuter, and then who go to Kettering. But I felt if downtown was hip enough, more of those students. And so that was my primary target right there, to bring something down for the students. So then I started looking. I was in Michigan quite a bit, because the company I work for, Crane Communications, is headquartered in Detroit. And so when I was home a lot, I would come to Flint, to see my family. And so I said, ooh, and so I had my cousin and my brother and them. I said, start looking for some buildings downtown. I thought maybe I would look at buying one. And the first one I looked at was the one that was the Time Clocks building that was on Saginaw Street, right next to the optometry place, and it had time clocks on it.
Okay. Right, it was down at the
right
point.
by the 501, just a little bit south of the 501.
Okay.
The building was for sale forever. It was recently sold, but he wanted too much for it. I had paid somebody to come in and check the building out, and it needed more work than I was willing to pay. And one time I was in town, and we looked over, and my brother always went to the building where I am. I mean, it was a very popular jewelry store.
Right.
And they called it like a watch store, and they had a sign up there for sale. And so, he said, wow, Beholz's store is up for sale. And it had been vacant, so I investigated it, and it was in foreclosure with a bank in Florida. And so I hired a lawyer, a local lawyer, because I wanted to know kind of the terrain around and what I need to do. Then I had an inspector come and inspect the building, and I got the building. I was still living in California when I purchased the building. But I got the building, because that was first. I wasn't going to come to Flint renting.
Right.
The market just isn't robust enough yet.
Right.
And that's,
you just put too much money into renting.
And then if sales are down, Flint is slow.
Yeah.
If anybody tells you, it's slow. It's building, but it's slow. If I had to pay rent, I'd probably be out of business.
Yeah.
But since I don't have to, and that's something you got to pay.
Right.
That's the first thing you got to pay.
Unless you own it, you got to pay the rent.
You got to pay the rent, if nothing else. So I said, if I buy, so that's taken a lot of pressure off of me. Because right now, all I really got to do is pay utilities and my inventory. You can always control inventory based on what's selling or buying. So I'm in a pretty good position. Like I said, Flint, I didn't come here like I think I told you before, with blinders on. I know Flint is a slow market,
right?
But I think it's going to take off. And a lot of stuff I learned as a business reporter. And see, a lot of things, a lot of people either don't have the money or they don't have the foresight. Sometimes you got to go in and take advantages of things when they're cheap.
Right.
It's like to buy cheap stock or something, you know.
Right,
and if you think that company, and when it goes up, and see, now most of the even though traffic still is not robust downtown, the property values are going up. I mean, people are selling their buildings. They got now, you just can't go in and purchase a building down there now,
Wow.
you know. And so I think Flint is going to make a turnaround, but it just needs more diversity.
Yeah.
They need a lot more store, not just these restaurants.
That's
down
what
there,
I see
you
a lot.
know?
I was just going to say a lot of restaurants have come down there, and they're good for like when you're doing fundraisers and different things like that. But I mean, you get tired of them. I want to go down there. I want to see like buildings like a museum aside from in the cultural center. I want to see something downtown like that, you know, because we were just talking about how I love Ann Arbor's downtown. It is so much. I mean, you can park and walk for 20 days and just see so much stuff. I mean, even if it's nothing but a big garden, they have the big old flower gardens, and you know, they need something creative like that. They have a couple little boutiques down there, and they got some restaurants downtown, but it's just not enough here. You go to Ann Arbor, it's like 20 times that.
Exactly. Even at, you know, in East Lansing, as a more robust, you know, where Michigan State is, but most college towns, and I think if Flint really wants to be a college town, you know, the politicians or the people who are doing things, they need to go and study these towns. A lot of students come in my store. They like the universities, but especially the foreign students. And, you know, if you're from
Japan or somewhere,
these people are used to being out in big urban areas where they're walking in a lot. There's nothing for them to do.
Because if I come through downtown after dark and you see students walking down the sidewalk, they're basically just walking, and they might huddle on a corner and talk, but there's nothing for them to do. We need a theater downtown.
Need a theater? I mean, you could have a lot of things, a bowling alley, a arcade, but just stuff, and you need more stores. There are no stores for them, you know, to go to. I had thought about maybe expanding and, you know, and where you have hoodies and just jeans or something. I mean, there's no reason why you want to bring, and everybody goes outside your community to shop, but why are you bringing these students in here and then they're taking all of their money
and taking it outside
to spend? I mean, they got their buses, they're taking people to Walmart, they're taking them to here and taking them to there,
everywhere.
And so these communities then are getting these tax dollars. You see what I'm saying?
That's like a casino. You know, everybody go everywhere else, but they don't want one here because they said to bring crime, and it's like, what?
Hello.
You haven't seen the crime yet, and we don't even have a casino. I think that's like one of the biggest misconceptions, and I just want to go in there and like shake the politicians and say, we want a casino. You know
what? They may as well. Everybody else.
Because that money that people from here go to all the other ones, that could be our revenue, because people will get busloads of people and come into town for a casino.
Yes, they
And
will.
we could just have money rolling in, just pouring in.
It's true.
And they're like, no, you know, people take road trips and, you know, just casino people, you know. And like downtown, you know, with us being a college town, you would think that was when they put the dorms in, you know, like Kettering was already ahead with their dorms. So when U of M built their dorms, it was like, oh, now we're going to have more people downtown. But then their question too was, okay, now we get them downtown, what are we going to do with them?
Exactly. What are you going to do with them? I mean, and when you're in college, and did you go to college? Yeah, and you know, the kids, they want to have fun. They, you know, you study, but you want to go out and they want to party. They want to drink. They want to see things, you know, and that's part of their education too.
Right.
You know?
Well, you know, before the pavilion was bought by the university, it was a little mall type, which was really nice. And up at the corner of 5th and Saginaw, that used to be all like malls.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, that was really nice. We didn't even have dorms. It was packed. What GM used to be there all the time, Buick City, you know, Buick and all them. It was always full of people. They had the seafood restaurant at the end, and they had you had 2 layers. So upstairs they had all kinds of stuff. You know, hairdressers. They had everything in there. And now they got like 3 businesses in there.
What happened? Was it just like
I think when GM left. They all started leaving.
Oh,
because
okay.
it used to be like a big old seafood company on the end, and I think they had one of those in Ann Arbor, and I think that was an arm that came here, and they had like this whole corner.
Okay.
But you could go in there and sit and eat. It had all these little restaurants in there, and then upstairs it had like little shopping centers, bookstores. It had hairdressers, barber shops, everything up there. And then when they opened the pavilion, I can't remember what it used to be called, but they had shopping centers in there. They had Gantos in there.
Really?
Gantos. And I used to love me some Gantos.
I don't remember that.
Well,
but I mean, I wasn't living here, but
yeah.
I was here, but I didn't come. I tell you the truth, I didn't even know U of M was in downtown from that.
And it's been there a long time, but it just...
I did not know it. It's a beautiful campus.
Well, they built a lot since I was there, because they built the Murchie Science Building and the library and the White Building in the years that I was there. Within the 21 years I was there, those 3 new buildings were built. But it used to be a lot more stuff, like when all the businesses in the pavilion left and U of M bought it, then it just turned into restaurants and offices. So once again, there goes, So they really do need something. And now when they just started the Tunes at Noon, where, you go down and listen to music outside, but to me, that's just not enough. We need to get more people down there, and, you might have to get a bigger store.
I think it worked. I think people would like to come, but since I've been back, and I asked a number of people I know, said they haven't been downtown in years. And I can understand why people don't come downtown. I'm thinking now, people are busy or they want to shop. And if you have a car, I mean, why would you come downtown unless you specifically want to come to Healthy Dollar to see Kathy or go to a restaurant? Because you can just go, like, maybe out to the mall or somewhere where you can go a strip and take care of all your business.
Right.
But if you come downtown, you're coming down for, just a specific one, one thing.
And then you're gone.
Right. Unless the city could, but see, it's so much empty space, because I'm a walker and I'm a biker. And I'm not really afraid, but, because sometimes I walk and take the path that'll go over to Kettering, or I walk down to Kersley Park or on my bike. The only thing I'm really afraid of might be stray dogs.
Yeah.
But when it's too much vacant stuff, that's when people get afraid.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, they need to link Kettering all the way over to the cultural. It's beautiful over at the
really
cultural center,
is.
all the way down to Kersley Park. They should have it so that people...
link the 3 bring colleges together. It'd be like Kettering, U of M, Culture Center.
Yeah.
Link them all together.
And it would be, and it's not that far. I mean, we're talking about maybe 3 miles, 4 miles. You can walk and bike that. If you're having a good time, it's nothing. Then you could get exercise in too.
And when they built the dorms and they opened up that area to cut through there like that, that was one of the good ideas, because people were complaining about, you got this spot, now you got to go all the way around like this to get to here. Well, now they cut it open, so you can go down, you can drive down through there or bike down through there.
Like at Kersley?
At U of M.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that Kersley Street that used to be cut over. Now,
You
so
come off
open that
Kersley and you just come straight across the campus, and then you can drive on up through, and they have, like that, the university, the dorms, because they're supposed to build it to make it look like a U. They built the first L part of it, then they supposed to built the other half, depending on how well it worked out with students coming in. So I would think at this stage they should be ready to like start building again, but I don't know, because they have a lot of foreign students coming over and a lot of stuff like that, and it costs a lot for the foreign students to be here, so they're making good money when they bring those people in.
And a number of them, and I've met a number of them, and like I said, they like, the university, but a number of them tell me that they want to transfer because they just don't have the university experience. They want to go to another city. More cosmopolitan type city, and some of them have gone on down to, and that's one thing hard for a business person too, like me, and you get these new customers in, and they come in, and then they're like, well, Kathy, I'm going to go down to Ann Arbor, or I'm going
Oakland.
to I'm going to Berlin, or or some of the foreign, they just go.
I know. It's crazy.
So it's.
So tell me a little bit about when you were a journalist, because this, you did the North American International Auto Show. Like you say, you traveled around, and then you ended up, like, you've been everywhere. Munich, London. You've been everywhere.
Yeah, I had a good time. Well, I was working for Crane Communications, the automotive news, but I started my career in radio, actually. And then I worked for Metro Media. When I first got out of college, one of my professors at Wayne State suggested I wanted to go to law school. That was just my whole thing. Nobody could have told me that I wasn't going to be a lawyer.
Get out of here.
But back in the day, when you think about it, though, you know, and if you were black, a lot of people, you know, and if you got good grades in school, you know, it was doctor, lawyer.
Doctor and lawyer. That's the first two things.
Like that, you know, especially if you were going to really, like, go to the top. You know,
right.
That, and I thought that I wanted to be a lawyer, and I really did, but I got my undergrad degree in journalism. I was thinking about going into entertainment law. But one of my professors, you know, took me aside and said, I always kind of was, you know, the student in class. I did a lot of talking, and I, you know, always liked a lot of people. You know, I think I got that from growing up in Flint. And I say that a lot when I go talk to people. I mean, I graduated from Northwestern in 1968, and I think I got a very good education in Flint. Now, the early part, you know, the neighborhoods were pretty much segregated, but the schools weren't. So I felt I learned a lot in Flint, you know, since I was always in school with people, you know, with white people. You know, I just learned as an early age that, you know, just because you were male and white didn't necessarily mean that, and that's why I'm for, like, integration, especially in schools, because you're with a lot of different people, and you just learn that, hey, you know, a lot of these kids, if they're in these segregated schools in the hood, they feel like they're dumb. Because they hear about that in the press, or we're going to close these schools, and people go to these schools, don't eat, and this kind of thing. So you need to be side by side with people so you know.
Yeah, and it's culture. You learn different cultures.
They're smart women, they're dumb women. They're smart blacks, they're dumb blacks. They're dumb white men, they're smart white men, you know. So I learned that, and I really, you know, have an affection for Flint, because number one, I got a real good education. And I knew that Flint, and when I was in 9th grade, I wrote a paper. Don't know why I wrote this paper, but it was about Flint and the economics of Flint. And I just remember writing that Flint was number 3 in the nation in per capita income, and its moniker was the no unemployment town. I'm like, wow. I mean, and Flint was always way up, you know, in the top 1 to 5
because
in
of
per
General
capita
Motors
income. And so, you know, so anyway, I got out of school. So like I said, I'm always used to being a busybody and doing a lot of talking. So a professor said, you know, the radio and TV stations are starting to hire, you know, females of color. You should try to go. I can, you know, hook you up with this radio station. You might want to. I'm like, no, I'm going to law school. And he said, why don't you take a little break and see? So I went and I got this job at Metro Media, WOMC in Detroit. And so I liked radio, and while I was there, I got a chance. Hoffa, that's when Hoffa
the Teamster
disappeared.
Yeah.
And I had made friends with William Buffalino Sr., who was a well-known lawyer, and he was the lawyer for the mob. You know, when they were saying that they were the ones who had put Hoffa. And so he got me a couple of key interviews, and then that caught the eye of ABC. And so then I got hired by ABC Radio because of the work that I had done on the Hoffa disappearance.
Wow.
So I went to work for ABC, which was a huge job. I was just the second woman and the first black to go on the air for ABC. And this was an O&O. This wasn't like, it was WXYZ, but at the time it was owned by ABC. And there were only 5 O&Os, which we call owned and operated by the ABC throughout the country. And Detroit was one of them. And so then I decided that I wanted to go back to law school, and you know, so I started looking around, see where I wanted to go. And then again, the same professor over at Wayne said, "Why don't you go?" But I really wanted to take my junior. Something I always wanted to do was take my junior year abroad. I didn't get a chance to do that.
Oh man!
And so I'm like, I still, even though right at that time I was like about 30 years old, and I'm like, I still want to take. I want to go abroad.
Yeah.
And so my professor said I wanted to go to France and learn French. You know,
That's what everybody wants. Going to Paris.
And the professor said, well, you should study Spanish because, you know, you're a journalist, and that's the big, like, even though French, everybody think French, but if you learn Spanish, that's going to really put you ahead of the game
Right.
a lot because you can say you can speak Spanish,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't want to learn Spanish because back in school we thought Spanish was kind of like a low life language. I mean, I'm not trying to, people listen, but I mean, but French was the pretty language.
That's the pretty language, because I had to learn some Spanish too, and it was like I wanted to learn anything, but like you said, that's usually the second choice they would give you. It was the
second. I shouldn't say that. I mean, my apologies to anybody, but just being
right,
just kind of
that's what people thought.
But anyway, so he said, no, Kathy, you should do this, and so I started looking around, and there was this place called the Euro Centers where you go to a school and they only teach you in that language, because I wanted to go to Europe, wanted to go to France really bad. But I started looking around and I said, you know what? He may be right, as I did my research, and I'm like, Spanish is pretty cool.
Right.
So I went to Barcelona. So then I was decided, where did I want to go and study Spanish? So I said, well, I wanted to go to Europe, so I was looking at Spain, and so I said, where do I want to go in Spain? And so I decided on Barcelona.
There you go.
So I went to Barcelona, spent a year there studying Spanish. And sure enough, then when I came back, I stayed there a whole year, and I came back, and it just enhanced my resume.
There you go.
By leaps and bounds. Just to talk to people, to say, oh, you spent... people like people who have done things.
That's what I'm saying. When you say you've been around the world, it's like, I just be like, tell me about it.
So then I got the job at Crane. I didn't want to go. A friend of mine, I went to California and stayed with a friend for a couple of months, because I said, well, since I kind of had a good hold on Spanish. And so I did a couple of interviews, and the best job offer I got was a part-time job with NBC. And when I think about it in hindsight, I probably should have taken it, but I had come back home for a vacation, and a friend of mine told me that Crane was starting this publication, Crane's Detroit Business, and she said, you ought to apply for that. And I'm like, who wants to cover business, number one, and who has ever heard of Crane Communications? Life has been good to me. But anyway, I went and did the interview, and Peter Brown, who was the editor then, he said, well, I didn't have any print experience. My print was on. And so he kept calling me and wanted to hire me, but I did not want to work for this Crane place, and I didn't want to cover business. Then he said to me, well, Keith Crane really likes his reporters to go out and be with sources. And, you have a pretty nice expense account here. So I didn't show it, but, I'm young. I'm like, an expense account? So I'm like, I'll get back with you. I was going to say, yeah,
Right.
And I went on, and I worked for Crane, and I worked for Crane's Detroit Business. We did for 5 years. Then Peter Brown, the guy who hired me, got promoted by Keith Crane to be editor of Automotive News, and I went along with him.
Wow.
And then the rest was
history.
Was history. Yeah, and
that is a good story, because I always like you say, when people say they've been somewhere, it's like, I want to go too.
Yeah. So.
But now you're back to Flint, and like you're back to reality now.
Yeah, but Flint, I still think Flint is a great town. I had forgotten how beautiful the cultural center is.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and really nice people. I think they're nice people, and I don't think it's as dangerous as. I mean, it is dangerous. I'm not putting that down. I mean, these little young kids are doing too much killing. But when I was out in L.A., shoot, the boys were going by doing drive-bys on bikes.
It's like you see in the movie.
Yeah, so
ride with their guns, riding them down on people on their bikes.
When I was living in London, it wasn't uncommon if you're on the subway that they say, well, we're not going to stop at Oklahoma Street because of a bomb threat. You know what I'm saying? So wherever you go, you have to be careful.
Yeah, that's the main thing, just being careful.
Yeah.
I think you do well down there. Like you said, we're doing kind of an upswing, and you're going to get more students, you get more people, and like when we had talked the first time, and I was saying, maybe you should do like a split shift of hours, because a lot of people have classes so late, and then they're like, I'm hungry, I don't have anything to eat, and I got to go all the way up to Rallies.
Right.
And you don't want a greasy burger that's late at night. I want an apple.
Exactly.
And then they want to come over and see you.
The kids tell me, you should stay open 24 hours.
There you go.
And that's something, I'm still exploring. The first year we opened, we were pretty much locked down because I think I told you consumers had shut down all of Beach Street and all of First Street. So we opened in September of 2011. They didn't open back up the streets until June of 2012.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it was like a bomb had come through and blown. They had torn up the sidewalks and the streets, the buses, no cars. You know, people don't even want to park now 2 blocks down.
Right.
There was no place
Nowhere
to
to
park,
park.
you know. So I keep trying to learn, and I'm talking to people, and I've changed, you know, some of the merchandise. I'm getting like more stuff for young men, because I know a lot of young men live in these who've just been released from prison or jail live in the area, and I'm not afraid of them.
Around in Carriage Town, you find a lot of different
and they respect
people.
me, and they come in, and I noticed one time that they were going down to see their PO officer, and they're like, you know, pants hanging down and stuff like that. So I started carrying belts and ties and socks, you know. So as I'm open, I'm seeing
what the
different
needs
things.
are.
Yeah, and it's changing all the time, and I've changed my pricing. Some of it, I mean, still most things aren't. I mean, I've got some caps and things, and everything costs $3 and $4. I still don't want my store to be a $20 store,
right? Because
or
they can go somewhere else.
store, unless I open up something else. I mean, I got the whole, you know, but something else that's not, you know, because I know how to get merchandise and nice merchandise, but it might have to cost $10, or $12, but it still would be a value.
Right. I mean, it wouldn't
Or,
be any
you
different
know,
than going to the little corner markets that jack you real big.
That's what I'm
$5
talking
for a
about.
gallon of milk.
That's what I'm talking about.
So you can bring stuff in, and people will still appreciate
and they appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still learning, and would like to hire some people. And you know, you hear a lot of people I've always admired business people, because I think they're really, you know, putting a lot on the line. And you know, since I've done this, I mean, you really put a lot on the line. And you know, people talk about the minimum wage and all that, and they want to raise it. And I think people should get a fair price, but small business people, you're not just paying people the wage. You also got to pay in the Social Security. You got to pay in the workman's comp.
Right.
It's very, very expensive, and they say they're doing things, but I don't think the government is doing anything really to help small business people.
Yeah.
To hire people, it's expensive. If you pay somebody above the table, like you should,
right.
like I want to, because then it's helping the whole. Then they're paying in the Social Security.
Right.
They're doing this. Most people, well, I won't say most, but a lot of small business people pay people under the table,
so they don't have to pay all those benefits and everything.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's very. You could then maybe double. Really, the wage what you're paying somebody.
The government's taking people, shoving them up the river.
I think it's a good opportunity though in downtown Flint, and I'm enjoying it.
Well, that's really good. That's good.
I enjoy the people. I've always enjoyed people. I was a reporter my whole life, and the stories. I really should do a reality show out of $1.
I think
it's
that
deep.
would be funny.
And I get everybody in there. Too.
Yeah.
You know, everybody. I mean, men, women. You know, people of all colors and races, and you know, and I easily talk to people, and I have fun with people. You know, so.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. Well, I want to thank you for taking a minute out of your busy schedule today. Just give everybody the address, your location to the Healthy Dollar again.
Okay, it's 132 West 1st Street. It's right at the corner of 1st and Beach. It's on the northeast corner. It's a big sign. It says Healthy Dollar, and beneath it says, holla. Kids love it when they come in the store. They like, Miss Kathy, can we open up the door? Can we open up the door? I'm like, yeah, you can open up the door. And they be like, Healthy Dollar, holla. You know, they love. So I trademarked
That's
that
cool.
holla. Yeah,
That's cool, because
so.
I don't think I even noticed it. But I know by the time I figure out where the store is, I've already passed it.
Right.
But I remember when it was a jewelry store, so I should be more aware. But now I know where it is. So, but anyways, I want to thank you for coming in today and sharing a little bit about the store, about you being the traveler that you are. I mean, I could live in other countries just listening to you talk.
Well, thanks for inviting me, and I would like to invite everybody down. In the wintertime, I don't open until 11 because nobody's out.
Right.
In the winter cold, but now I'm open like at 10, and I'm open generally till 7, sometimes till 8. I mean, one thing about me, the biggest joke around town is when is Kathy going to be in the store? But everybody has my number. I live there too in the building. So a lot of customers, I tell people, and people do call me.
Yeah, Kathy, can you come down and open the store?
They do. And if I'm not, I'm competitive. Yeah, I go down there. I'm really competitive. I go down there, yeah. Sometimes I'm leaving out. People drive by. Are you leaving? You're not open? I'm like, what you need?
Yep.
Yeah, I go
give me a minute.
Lock that door.
That's what I'm talking about. How many people will do that? See?
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, I have next week, we're doing a 4:30 show, and we're going to have Stacey Elliott coming in. She's one of the local artists. She does T-shirts and this kind of thing. So I want to invite everybody to come back next week. But remember, I'll be at a different time, my 4:30 slot. And thank you again for coming in, Kathy. So everybody that's downtown in the area that, wonder what that store is, you need to just go on in and check it out.
Yeah, and come in for one of those smoothies.
Go on and get your healthy smoothie going on. So in saying that's the Flaminpit Show, and we're out.
All right, thank you.